Good morning. I want to just come on and have a quick conversation with you and let you know some of the things that I've seen as a publisher, as a writer, as an author, as a business owner. And really, I just want to encourage you because I know sometimes when we're doing something no one else has done, it can be challenging. It can be challenging for people to see us, to embrace our ideas, for us to build the confidence that's absolutely necessary, not to quit when we are doing well or when we're starting something new. And today, I wanted to talk to you about how family is really the heartbeat of your story. Um, I know when I first started writing my first book, I wrote about my family. I wrote about my life story. And in writing about my life story, I started to realize things about me. I started to realize things I did very well. I started to become a bit more objective in how I saw myself and maybe how other people have seen me all along. And when we can take ourselves out of ultimately, when we can take ourselves into this objective perspective, it allows us to write with a free heart, a free mind, and for us to look at our stories from another person's point of view. Meaning, if you are wanting to write your story, share your content, share the things you would want other people to be inspired by, one of the best ways of making sure you have a book that can actually reach the masses or go beyond your personal affections for the story is to make sure you're thinking about the readers. I know sometimes in the beginning we're like, Lord, I just want to get this off my heart. I just need to get this done. And in so thinking, we may cast aside some of the things that we may honestly need to think about a little bit more. And one of the first steps that I have any of my writers or authors do before we ultimately even start thinking about editing or formatting or distribution, publication, is I ask them, what is your why statement? What is the number one thing that is making you want to write either continually or one time? Because not everybody wants to be a repeat author. You want to be a repeat author, wonderful. And to be honest, when I first started writing, I did not think about repeat authoring anything. I just wanted to write one book because it was on my heart. I felt compelled and I committed to it. And then in that process, I realized I had more to say. I had more I could give. I had more that I wanted to do because I realized my why statement went beyond the book. I think one of the biggest challenges we experience as writers and soon to be published authors, or if you're already published, is how do I tell my story in a way where it can relate to other people I want to relate to? And then how can I control the story in that I am sharing the story and I'm on topic and I'm not basically going off topic? And if and the easiest way to do basically to do that, to go off topic, is to try to cram more into a book than what logistically fit, what storyline fits. When you want to include everything and your future and your past and your hopes and your dreams, you might find that the book becomes bigger than you even imagined. Okay. And what I want to encourage you to do is as your story begins to develop and get bigger, don't quit on the story. Tell the story, outline the story. After my clients finish their why statement, the next thing I have them do is consider their outline. Okay. Because outlining your book is the roadmap to writing it easy. Okay. One of the books that we gift to our clients and that many people buy all around the world now, which I'm excited about, is our Write Anything Easily guide. Okay. As an author, I wrote both of these books. And as a publisher, I published both of them. But what I love about this book, whether you get into hardback or paperback, is the books in color, which I think is absolutely necessary for a book of this nature. I wanted the book to be easy because I need people who need to write their stories and share it with the world, not to get caught up in the logistical side, but to be able to be free and creative and open to the process. Because I tell people all the time, writing is therapy. When you really get a chance to write your story and tell it from your perspective, it will bless you as you are opening up to the world. Sometimes, if you want to publish it, it's true. But for others, you may just journal, right? To release something that's in your heart. And I want to let you know you don't have to publish everything you write. But in publishing it, the question becomes, who are you writing or publishing it for to relate to And yes, there are business goals attached to this often than not, and that's perfectly fine. I even recommend it. If you are wanting to be a repeat author, you have to be able to sell books. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're going for, right? But I want to share with you, if you're only writing as a brain dump, not everything that you're putting on the page will make the cut. Meaning, some of the things you put on the page probably belongs in another book. Some of the things you put on the page probably may need to be in another chapter. Okay. Sometimes we just start vomiting on the brain, or just putting it all out there, but it's not necessarily organized. So having an editor like myself or someone else can help you organize your thoughts. It's not always about taking stuff out, but it's about organizing it so the stuff you're putting in can be completely digested by the reader, which is what you want. You want them to pick up what you're putting down. Okay. So if you're giving out a tip for how you sustain or how you survive something, then I want to make sure I can help you tell that story very well. When I meet with my clients, again, I ask them their why statement. I look at their outline. If they don't have one or if they haven't started writing, it's not a big deal. In fact, it's probably one of the best things because we can make sure that what you're writing is building on what you want the world to know, meaning what you want your reader to learn or to gather. Sometimes when we're writing, we don't necessarily have a point. We're just writing, as they say, writing to be free, writing to be open, and that has its place. But as an author, as a either published author or as an author that wants to go in business, there are steps that I want to encourage you to think through. So when it comes to selling your book, talking about your book, going to expos, going to pop-up shops, going to these places, going on stages and being a public speaker, you know that what you're speaking on will relate back to the product you brought to the table. How many of you have said, okay, I want to create something that allows me to go on stages, that allows me to tell my story, that allows me to share, my testimony or my process or my gifts with the world. But when you read their books, they're not connected. When you hear them speak, they really don't quite connect what they're talking about and what they're passionate about with what's even in their books. So you buy the book thinking you're getting their passion and their motivation and their growth, but when you start reading it, it might be disjointed, where it's hard to understand. It's really their thoughts on paper, but it's not necessarily a organized flow. So this is where you will need a publisher or editor or someone that can come alongside you and say, hey, I see your vision. Allow me to make it better, clearer, understandable, organized, right? And when you are in these steps, you want to pick people that can relate to you. You want to pick people that can understand you, want to be where you are, want to, they see the vision that you see as far as who you want to relate to, who you want to pick up your book. Because sometimes we did do the right things, but maybe we didn't align with the right team. Maybe we didn't find somebody that really cared about our story. We just found people that wanted to publish and move on, but you didn't quite feel that connection with that person. One of the things I love about going live and having conversations like this, making videos like these, is that it allows people to connect with me as a author, as a writer, as an editor, and as a publisher. Because when you can connect with people that you can see, when you can hear their voices or video chat them, this allows you to build a relationship with someone that you are entrusting one of the most private, aspects of your lives. For many of you who are telling your life stories, you don't want to tell your life to someone you can't trust or you don't know or you don't connect with, because they can mismanage your, it's not just your story, but you feel like they're mismanaging your life because it's your life story, especially. I talk about how family is the heart of the message. Family is what makes us want to write or to live or to do things, to go to work, to accomplish greatness. And if you are at a point where you're wondering, well, what can I really write about? The number one thing many of us write about is our family, is our experience, but we do it from our perspective. And that's the key to reading any book, is you want to know, whose perspective am I reading this book from? So as you go from the editing phase to the writing phase, I want you to consider, whose perspective are you sharing the story from? Is it the eyes of a child? Is it the mother? Is it the father? Is it a friend? Is it a teacher? Is it a coach? Because all of these things play into how you narrate the story, right? Or how you internalize dialogue as you're reading the story. And when you are writing your story, you want to make sure that your point of view is consistent, because you will start using pronouns. This is going into editing. You'll start using pronouns, or you'll start using first or second, first or second perspectives when you're writing, and it can be confusing to the reader because they don't know who's talking. Is this the narrator? Is this what character? Why are they doing this? Whose head am I in? So, Quantum, how you doing? Billy, thank you so much. I saw you too. Shout out to both of you. So I want to let you know, when we are battling, when we're reading books, it makes them harder to read and easier to put down. So if you want to write a book that people love and fall in love with, if you want them to fall in love with you, then you have to nail your audience. And nailing your audience also includes how you nail your characters. Okay. So if you have a mature audience, then you want to have perhaps blessings. Thank you so much. You want to have people that can relate to mature characters. If you want to talk to mothers or fathers or parents that are dealing with difficult children, you probably want to write from the perspective either of the child so they can understand their own children, or from the parent that is disgruntled and how you're going to help them use this book. Yes, fiction and nonfiction can be tools of success, of learning, of entertainment, of fun, but also of growth. I think one of the best books, and one of the things my husband says all the time is, when he watches a movie, a K-drama, a series, or whatever we're watching, he always says, man, these characters really didn't grow. Some of us are looking for personal growth. Some of us want to see character development, meaning the characters are not exactly the same. Even if they're the same, the outcome has to what? Develop, because that's how life works. So if you want to impact people and make something that really like attaches to people's hearts or minds or memory, okay, you have to create content that makes them check in with the content in more than one level. That's why if you read any of my books, they're going to relate to you in three ways. Okay. One is you're going to just fall in love with the writing, the way it's written. Sometimes it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. Right. So we can say something that can empower. We can say something that inspires. We can say something that makes people feel rejected or hate a character, because it's how you position their introductions, right? Or their exits. Okay. Sometimes we can celebrate people dying, although we wouldn't do that in real life sometimes. I hope not. But in books, we're like, man, they deserve, right? Why? Because the writer mastered the appeal that they wanted you to have, or the interpretation of a character that they want you to have, and then they charged you with a emotion, which is really good. It's really good when you feel some kind of way when you read something or you watch something. Okay, that means somebody, either actor, the writer, or the character, did something very well. All right. Now the next thing is, you want to make sure that you ultimately know the perspective, right? We talked about that a little bit too, because when you know that, you're able to connect with someone in that, on that level. Okay. Another thing you want, and you will find in my books, is I want to show you how I personally have grown. Because when you learn something, it's easier to teach someone else. And when you teach someone else something that you've learned, this is how you master what you've learned. Because if it only works for you, if it only worked one time, some will call that luck. Some will call that a bless up. Some will call it favor. Some will call it so many things, but it may not necessarily be practical, right? So if you can only bake your bread one time, and after that, you don't remember the recipe, you don't know how to put it down, you don't know how to, what I'm saying, relate the flavor profile, you don't know how to describe it, then you're going to find yourself not being able to tell anyone else, but it will be a unique experience for you. It doesn't pull away from your experience. It just means it's not one where you can easily share it. Okay. So consider, what did you learn that other people can see? They may not learn it, but at least they can see it. They may not agree with it, but at least they can be aware of it. Okay. So you have to consider, how do you want people to, to interact with what you're sharing, what you've learned, or what you hope that they can see in you or through your story. Okay. And then lastly, I believe in spiritual development. I believe spiritual development, mental development, emotional, psychological, all these things are interconnected. And because I believe in that, I want to write books that can push people forward. So in my novels, even, I'm going to give you business knowledge, things I've experienced, things I've seen through character development. I'm going to show you how some of us can burn our own bridges from an emotional standpoint. I'm going to show you aspects of my life or people that I know that I was like, wow, that is so dynamic. You do that? Wow, I want to learn how to do that. So things that inspire me, I put that into some of my characters. Things that I like or I enjoy or I've noticed about life, I put in there. You ever watch movies and you're like, man, that was a deep thought. That wasn't by happenstance. That was because someone intentionally put it there because they wanted you to get more out of the story than just who the character is and what happened and what went wrong or right. They want to also expand your ability to love, to hear, to listen, to do something. Okay. And ultimately, when I write books, I'm always looking at what would I want someone to get out of this book? What would I want the reader to come away with? And why would they want to reread this book again and again? And the reasons are really plain. Most of my, I would say all of my books, but I would say, yeah, I would say all of them. All of them have an element that I believe you can reread and be like, wow, I didn't see that. It's one of the reasons why I love the Bible because you can read it once, you can read it twice, you can read it three times. And I don't know if it's something that happens within our hearts or that happens within our minds that expands our vision, or it's just the fact that it's something we need in the moment. Sometimes it's nothing new. It's nothing new in the books that you may read. Honestly, there's nothing new under the sun. Every romance movie has similar plots. Every action movie has similar plots. If you watch any of the, character movies, whether they're a Spider-Man, a Batman, or whatever, there's always a villain. Always, it's just the way. This is the prototype for writing and telling stories. And you want to learn what that is so that as you tell your stories, you're going to deliver what people expect, but you want to do something different that makes it you. Whether it's the way you write it, whether it's the way you do dialogue, whether it's the way you position plots, whether it's the way you develop your characters, whether it's the way you essentially give, notes and nods. Is it your camera angles? And for the moviegoers, the script writers, what is going to make what you do you? Sometimes people say, Crystal, when you write so many books, I have 64 published books of my own, not including the ones I published or ghostwrite for other people. I have 64 of my own, and I'm still putting out books. Actually, I have a couple books I got to put out soon. But some say, well, Crystal, aren't you ever like wondering what is going to happen? Or when you go to events, are you ever worried about who's going to buy what? And my short answer is always no. I'm not worried about what other people are doing because I know what I'm working on. I know what I'm working towards. I know who I am. I know who I am as a writer. I know what I don't do. And I know what I can appreciate about other writers because they're not me and I'm not them. So I don't want you to ever get intimidated and feel like you don't have something to bring to the table because you don't write as well or your story don't feel as crazy or dramatic as someone else's. Maybe your genre is just totally different. Maybe your storyline or your ideal reader is something else. And when we don't allow ourselves to express who we are, but we try to become something for the reader or for business or for whatever, it can be harder to tell the story you want to tell. For some of us, we're trying to write like AI, and AI is not a passionate or compassionate, creation. It's meant to just create content, make it similar to everybody else's. It does not specialize in uniqueness. It does not specialize in you. It doesn't specialize in your soul or your experiences or your unique ways. It only can relate what everyone else is doing and then put your name on it. Now, for some of us, we might say that's good enough. Others were like, that ain't me though. I don't talk like this. I don't want to relate to the reader like this. Okay. There are aspects of AI that I think are great, but I would say no one can tell your story better than you. Meaning, what's in your heart? The way you talk might be the way people need to hear it. Sometimes the way a character feels can only be expressed through their language. It doesn't mean it's your language. I don't personally use swear words or any of that stuff in my regular life, but I can't make my characters talk like me because that's who I am. I have to let the characters be who they are so that they can connect to the people that can connect to the character. Sometimes there's ways where you can force something to sound or to be perceived, but it's not true to the message. It's not true to the character. It's not true to how they felt. It's not true to how the reader may feel or interpret what you wrote. So allow yourself to be free to write the way a character may need to be developed. They may need to go from, if your character is going from rough, ready, raunchy and all that stuff to saved, delivered, and set free, sometimes the best way to articulate that is to show people, especially if you're doing novels and fiction. I know when a lot of us do Christian fiction, we think, oh, I have to filter out all the bad stuff. No, because then you're going to miss the people you might try to evangelize to with your story because you're filtering out all the things that people need to read or to see or to understand. If the father took out Rahab's story because it was too much, she was a prostitute. It's in there. He didn't try to make it sound good. She was a lady of the night. No, it said what she was doing. Okay. And sometimes we need to read it as it is. Sometimes we need to hear real life stories and know how big God is to deliver those who are living a real life. And yes, it's entertaining, but it's also powerful. So when you read my novels, they're real people. They're real characters. And that I believe in writing true to characters and not just true to PG-13 so that other people can be comfortable about how clean God delivers. Because sometimes he's delivering people out of messy situations. It doesn't look good. In fact, it look hopeless. And I want to show that with some of my characters. Some of them never accept the gift of God. I know a lot of us, when we watch Christian movies, everybody gets saved by the end. That's not how life works. That's not what people do. So if you want to write stories that connect to people, that can make people feel urgency, sometimes the best policy is just being honest. It's just laying it on the table, showing people how people operate. Okay. That's one of the things I feel like certain genres or, genres, categories got right is they're true to characters. So if you want to write certain genres, consider being true to characters. Now, do you have to write swear words in your books if you don't want to? No, you do not. But there is a way to still develop the aggression of a character. There is still a way to not water down, what you're wanting to express because you're worried about what some people may say about the character when that character are real people that will pick up your book or may want to. But when they start reading, they're like, yeah, this ain't real. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? Thanks for being in the Rose Club. All right. So I want to encourage y'all today. If you are considering writing your stories, consider whose perspective. Know that your family stories and your life story is enough. What you have going on is enough to tell the story that you may feel led to write. The only question is, how can you write it better? All right. So write anything easily. You can order the book wherever you want to. You can go to writeanythingeasily.com, authorkle.com, or you can search it, Google, Amazon, everywhere you want to go. All right. But I encourage you to grab this book because in this book, I'm going to share with you 6 points for how you can write anything easily. Okay. I have 64 published books of my own. I gift this book to my publishing clients because as writers, as authors, I need you to know what you want. Sometimes the most difficult person to publish for, they're not a difficult person. It's what they want. They don't know how to define. So when you say, okay, well, how do you want to tell your story? What do you mean? From whose perspective? Well, I don't know. Let's think through the details. So then here are the questions to help you think on how you want to tell your story, because the right people are going to different people are going to gravitate towards different characters. You ever watch a movie and you love the supporting character more than the main character? That's because they develop the supporting character better. Okay. Then sometimes the main character, where you're like, man, this person right here, I want them to win. I know they're not even in the front, but man, dang, can they ever get a break? Can they ever this? Can they ever? And that is good writing, right? But is it balancing the story? Sometimes the answer is yes. You just don't really feel the main character. Other times they didn't develop the main character enough for you to care about them. Okay. So I want to show you that creative writing can need more, and it does need more than writing a life story, because it's not just about the events, it's about the characters you want people to fall in love with. So I have a another book too that goes in this series for creative writing. I encourage you, if you are into novels and writing children's books especially, I help a lot of children authors get published. One of the things I would definitely share is the fact that in writing for children and different audiences, you have to consider your grammar. You have to consider the word choices you're using, because first and second graders are not going to read words from middle schoolers, although some of them can. It won't be the norm. Okay. So it will be hard to categorize your book if you wrote it in such a high level or low level that people in the level can't relate. I want to do another book, and the title I came up with, I'm like, no, Nobody in first grade or second grade will say socially awkward. That's too it's too advanced for their levels. Not that they can't read the words, they wouldn't necessarily appreciate the title. It's not going to jump out at them. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to rework the title, not because the book isn't about being socially awkward, because everyone can relate to that. Even children can relate to the fact that everybody don't like them. But that's what they would say over socially awkward. A lot of people don't like me, or I don't have a lot of friends. So you want to consider that as you're making your covers, as you're titling your book, and don't feel like you have to come up with the title before you write the story. Sometimes we write the story and then we come up with the title. So I allow myself to be free when I write my books. I even write my introduction sometimes at the end of the book. Meaning when I wrote all my chapters. Why? Because I know the whole journey now. I know quotes that I said in different chapters that I could pull into the introduction that will make my introduction more compelling. Okay. When you're reading an introduction, you want the interior of the book to match the introduction or to make you feel like, yeah, they delivered. Man, this is what they said in the beginning. It's fun, right? When you watch movies, everybody loves a foreshadow. Everybody loves when they go back in time and show you why or how they got where they got to, because it gives you a clearer picture. And in your books, your introduction should deliver on that too. So if your introduction is completely detached from what you wrote on the inside of your book, rework your introduction. Don't be afraid to go back to it after the book is written, because sometimes it's the best time. Okay. I've had clients turn in books and their titles do not relate at all. And I'm like, you sure you want to leave it like this? I mean, here's some of my thoughts. And in my book review process with KLE Publishing, by the way, the name of my publishing company, if you do need my help, is KLE Publishing. You can Google me. You can go to klepub.com. Okay, it's on the screen. And ultimately, I'll even give you a QR code for those of you that can see it, just to make it a little bit easier. But what I love ultimately about telling stories and launching authorship businesses, especially, is that when you do the work, meaning when you think through your why statement, when you make a really good outline, when you're clear on who your ideal reader is, it allows editing to go better. It allows the person that wants to edit your book to edit it to what you need or what you want, and not just edit it for the sake of taking out elements, because it's bigger than that. And it also allows you to know how to publish or distribute your book, because you have to select categories when you upload your books. Okay. And it's going to say, well, what's the genre? What's this? What's that? What are the secondaries? What are first? And as you start considering these things, hey, Dwight, good to see you. As you start considering these things, it will help you to know how to position your book. The better your book is positioned, the easier it is to relate and connect with the audience you're intending it to go to, which means it increases your ability to make money or return on your investment because you thought through the hard details. When we skip some of these phases to business, a lot of times we do because we don't understand business. A lot of us have never had a business before, but we want to write our stories. We want to get published. And in those steps, some of us may not realize what we're really doing is launching a business. Okay. And so if it is in your heart to be a repeat author or to publish a book in order for you to sell it, hit shelves, and go international, we publish to 44,000 companies internationally or globally. Okay. So it goes beyond Amazon, it goes beyond Google or TikTok shops, although all these stores are definitely wonderful. I will encourage you to realize that, oh my goodness, it's really a business. So you're going to have to market, you're going to have to promote, you're going to have to build your brand, you're going to have to establish yourself in the marketplace, you're going to have to invest in these things. If you want to start a business, yes, you can start things with little money. Sometimes people say no money at all, but I would caution you on that, because sometimes when we're trying to do something for free, we get the quality that matches something for free, meaning it could be hard to sell. Okay. So if it's too hard to sell and you're going into business, you may want to consider what can you reasonably invest. All right. So if it's a couple $100s, if it's a couple of thousand, if it takes you time, sometimes you got to do payment plans. I mean, KLE Publishing, we offer payment plans because we do understand that creating this book could take time. For some of you, you may want to go traditional publishing, which means that we will partner with you on your book. We will reduce some of your costs and we'll also share in the royalties, but we're also sharing in your need to build a business. So everything's not on the author. All right. So that's one of the good things about traditional publishing. Self-publishing means you own all of your book. You do have control over your content. We don't own anything. Our objective is to set you up with the stores, make sure your book is polished, so you have a product you can take to market. Okay. So if you don't understand some of these things that I'm saying, if you don't know how to identify your ideal customer and all that good jazz, this is why we have this book. All right. So in this book, it's a turnkey solution to take your dreams from basically dreaming to paid. And in this book, in this series, I want to show you how to think like a business owner. I want to show you how I was able to take my dream of writing my first book and to creating a whole business that is based on authorship, writing, being an author, selling my own books, and helping other people to write and sell their books. Okay. So if you are wanting to go into business, no matter the industry, this book will show you how to do it. So if you need a mission statement, a vision statement, if you don't know what a client avatar is, if you don't know how to build, develop, or develop your social media or your marketing, your website, stuff like that, which we know is part of promotion. Okay. But if you don't know what it is, you'll just say, well, I don't need that. Nobody's buying from there. But if people Google you, what are they going to find? Are they going to find stuff that identifies with your brand, or are they going to find nothing? Because if they can't find you, then they don't know you exist. If they go on Amazon and search your book title, but nothing shows up, then yeah, you can't sell a book people can't find. Okay. So I want to encourage you. How do you know how to do that? You got to have a strategy. Ultimately, to anything, you have to have a strategy. You have to be willing to work for this. This is why you got to fall in love with your book first. Because if you're not falling in love with your business, if you're not willing to see the benefit of it, it's going to be real hard to sell it to someone else. And for some of us, impossible. Okay. Not because it couldn't be done, but because you haven't believed, you're not a believer yourself. You're not a person that believes in the message yourself. Okay. So you have to understand that what you've created has value. That's the first thing. And if you don't know, then these are some of the keys to help you in business. All right. So if you do need business help, if you are in the phase where you are planning or looking at how to launch your business right, I want to basically introduce you to the KLE Business Concierge. Okay. So with the Business Concierge, which is a department of KLE, we help authors, new businesses, small businesses leverage what they've created, meaning expand it, distribute it, promote it, and help them build something that is worth building. Hey, Mr. Wilson. And so if you are looking at starting your business or you need help, maybe you're like, Crystal, I know I need to integrate, innovative things like a website or social media or marketing, but I don't know what I'm doing. And if that's you, I want to let you know I can help. Okay. So KLEBC.com is where I want you to go. I want you to fill out these quick forms that are on these websites so that I can know that I can help you. And on that call, we're just going to have a discovery call. I can see where you're at, see what you need. You can definitely order these books. Okay. But my main goal is to show you how to move things forward. One of the things I absolutely love is when I first started any of my businesses, I have a few. When I started my companies, I had to get organized. I had to think like a business owner. I worked with a lot of profitable companies before I started my own. And they showed me the culture that I wanted or did not want. They showed me the work ethic I did have to have because I was already using it. For some of us, we are not doing our full potential because we're not really in love with our companies or our jobs or our career paths. So we're not really pushing ourselves and we don't really know what we're capable of. But when you realize this is what I want or this is what I'm pursuing, it can show you how you can push harder. And for some of us, pushing without direction is just pushing, right? Pushing without a goal is just work. So if you want to get to a point where it can benefit you or be beneficial, then you got to get organized. And that's what this does. This gives you 5 key categories to help you to get organized, okay? So that you can launch your businesses right. All right. So if that can bless you, do that. If you want to go to the website where I can get a hold of you, it's KLEBC.com. Okay. You'll see it on your screen if you have it. If not, just remember KLEBC.com. All right. If you do need publishing help or if you would like to reach out to me, it's KLEPub.com. Just short for publishing. And I would love for you to fill out that form on our website so I can get to know you, your book, your story, where you are, and see how I can help you move this thing along. I want to let you know one of the biggest things that I encourage people is don't allow money to be the reason you don't do stuff. Meaning, if you say you want to write your story, find a way to write your story. If you say you want to live on purpose, find a way to live on purpose. Everything doesn't have to cost money. You're right. And that's why I tell you, if you want to have a dream, don't just dream about it, make it happen, make it come true. If you write your story and you get it published and you don't really care about if it sells, I have clients that feel that way. They just want to get their books published. They don't care if it sells because it's not about the sales, it's about their process. Okay. If that's you, I can help you too. If you want to make it a business, I can show you how. All right. Because there are, as they say, there are levels to this. So, whatever your goal is, what I want to encourage you to do is don't quit. What I want to remind you of is your family or your experiences are enough to launch a business. It's what we experience, it's what we see, it's what we endure, it's what we conquer that makes incredible businesses. Entrepreneurs look for ways to make people's lives better, at least different. Okay. So if you want to do that, and if a book can help you, I can definitely help you. KLEpub.com. And if you want to launch a business and I can help show you how your business can make sense, be simple, right? Then you can definitely check out the KLE Business Concierge, which is KLEBC.com. Okay. So until my next live, guys, which will likely be tomorrow, I want to wish y'all a wonderful day. I want to thank every last one of you for being on this live, for connecting with me. If you would like to reach out to me and the websites or things it's hard to catch on to, just send me a message. I would love to hear you in the DMs and know what you learned or what you liked about the lives. Let me know your comments and thoughts. I will share highlights from the videos as soon as I can, y'all. So definitely put them in the comments when you see the videos. But I trust that this has inspired, definitely motivated, reminded some of you that what you have is enough and that going into business doesn't have to be difficult, but it has to be intentional. You have to be intentional. Intentional. Because when you're intentional, you're going to build a strategy. And I dare say launching a business requires strategy. All right. And if you don't have one, let's work that first. All right. Let's get out the kinks. So when you get to the end of this road, you can learn it. And if you want to repeat it, you can keep going. That's what happened to me. I put out my first book. I learned a system and then I published my system, which is what Write Anything Easily, the book, is all about. All right. You can also go to that website too. WriteAnythingEasily.com, all spelled out normally. And you can see all of the series that are coming out in that series that will help you literally write anything. Okay. All right, y'all. So until my next live, y'all have a beautifully blessed day. I trust this has, again, encouraged